This video is about using trig to find a missing side length. So remember we talked about SOHCAHTOA, so sine is equal to opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is equal to opposite over adjacent. So given a problem, you are going to look at the problem and see what information they're giving you based on the angle that they give you. So they give you an angle measure of 38 degrees. Across from my 38 is the opposite side, and the other side that has information is across from the right angle, which is my hypotenuse, which means in order to solve for the variable in this case, we need to use the sine function. So we're going to say the sine of 38 is equal to my opposite over my hypotenuse. So because my variable is in the numerator, we are going to multiply 15 times the sine of 38 to equal x. So in our calculator, we would type 15 times the sine, which is above the comma button, our angle measure 38 degrees. So we get that x is equal to 9.2. Remember that we're always rounding to the nearest tenth for a side length. So that means x is 9.2. In number 2, we're given 56 as our reference angle. So 21 is next to the right angle, is next to the angle, so that is our adjacent side, and across from the right angle is our hypotenuse with x. So if we have adjacent and hypotenuse, this is cosine. So the cosine of our angle 56 is equal to the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. Now, when your variable is in the denominator of the fraction, the variable and the trig function switch spots, so x equals 21 over the cosine of 56. So in my calculator, I would type 21 divide by the cosine button, which is above the open parenthesis, 56. And when we round, we would get that x is 37.6. Number 3, when I label the sides of my triangle based on this angle, across from the 24 degrees is my opposite side, which has a measure of 14. And next to my angle is the adjacent side with x. So if we have opposite and adjacent, this is tangent. So the tangent of 24 is equal to my opposite over my adjacent. Again, my variable's in the denominator, so it's going to switch positions with the trig function. So x equals 14 divided by the tangent of 24. So in our calculator, 14 divided by tan, which is above the closed parenthesis, 24. And we would get that x is equal to 31.4. In number 4, in triangle RST, T is 90 degrees, R is 63 degrees, and ST is 11. Find RS. So we're going to draw a triangle. We have to be careful where we put things. So if T has a measure of 90 degrees, that means it's the right angle. R and S, it doesn't matter where I put them, but I know that R is 63 degrees. So R is going to serve as my reference angle. I also know that ST has a measure of 11. I need to find RS. So based on where my angle is, across from the angle is my opposite side, across from the right angle is my hypotenuse. So if I'm given the opposite and the hypotenuse, I want to use sine. So sine of 63 is equal to my opposite side 11 over my hypotenuse, which is x. So again, my variable is in the denominator, so it's going to switch with our trig function. X equals 11 divided by the sine of 63. So in my calculator, 11 divided by the sine of 63. And we get that x is equal to 12.3. One more example to look at. So in number 5, we are given a triangle and we need to solve for x. Here's the problem with this triangle right now. It doesn't have a right angle. So I'm going to draw an altitude in, which will create a right angle. Because this is an isosceles triangle, it divides my base into two congruent parts. So remember that x is representing the entire base. So I'm going to call these two pieces y, and I need to solve for y. So based on where my angle of 42 degrees is, y would be on the adjacent side, and 18 is on the hypotenuse because it's across from the right angle. So I would use cosine to solve for y. So the cosine of 42 is equal to y over 18. Now, because y is in the numerator, we're going to multiply, so 18 times the cosine of 42 equals y. 18 times the cosine of 42 gets us that y is going to be 13.4, which means that each of these pieces is 13.4. So if I'm trying to solve for x is equal to 13.4 plus 13.4, which would get us 26.8.